afternoon, fellow travelers. That sounds like a communist invitation because they say travelers are said to be those who join the Communist Manifesto. But I use the phrase fellow travelers because all of us, residents of Mindanao, have been traveling the long and bumpy road towards peace all these years. And peace always seems to be just around the corner, and then we see it gone. Or way ahead of us, that it seems to be hazy to our eyes. And once more, our hearts go throbbing in anxiety and concern. And we wonder if, when we wake up in the morning, there will be news all over that we have been surrounded by this force of soldiers or by this other force of soldiers. So we are travelers, and I'd like to say that we are fellow travelers. We had the Tripoli Agreement worked out between the Marcoses and Libyan President Muammar Gaddafi. We thought that would be a start, and it was a start, but it sort of stopped at where it started. We had the arm between the Cory Aquino government and Noor Miswari. While the arm is still in place, we know that many are not completely happy with it, and skirmishes between government troops and certain groups continue to take lives and threaten our peaceful existence. The Duterte government and other interested parties have forged the Bangsamoro Organic Law, BOL, and we tie our hopes to this new agreement. But even before it has taken off, we find that there are reasons or discomforts from this group to that group to that group. Even the use of the word Bangsamoro does not seem to be universally acceptable to all the groups that are concerned. This is an effort on both sides, but harmony and peace cannot be legislated. I believe that we can pass as many laws as we want, but laws by themselves do not bring about the peace. Peace comes as a result of our understanding and acceptance of what we as individuals are expected to carry out in relation to one another. Our forum this afternoon is intended to increase our understanding of what the BOL says. I was a teacher for many years, and I always say, you cannot follow what you do not understand. Do you agree with me on that? So if we don't understand what the provisions are, what the spirit of the law is, how can we sincerely put ourselves under that law? This effort this afternoon, therefore, is an effort to make us grow in understanding. Let us hope we will succeed. But if we do not succeed, let us also pray that we will be open enough to say, we cannot just stop here, we must continue to strive. Our amicable relationships with each other will depend on how far we are willing to submit ourselves to the provisions and, more important, the spirit of the law. You can have 100 provisions, but if the spirit is weak, and if the spirit is not internalized, we will not travel very far along our road to peace. Our panelists this afternoon, Professor Wadi, am I missing them? Yes, I see Attorney Taha. I'm looking for Ed Sanson. Is he here? There, Attorney Ed Sanson. Our three panelists will do their best to explain to us the provisions of the Bangsamoro organic law, with the hope that we will understand better, and therefore, if we understand better, we subject ourselves better to the spirit of that law. So we welcome our three panelists and all of us in attendance this afternoon with open minds and open hearts to this latest effort to forge the peace in Mindanao. Daghang salamat.
Of this assumption, at least I think 5 or 6 major assumptions to sort of frame our discussion of the BOL this afternoon. And after providing these major assumptions, I will go into the sort of details of these assumptions and see the extent within which we'll be able to sort of explain the fear and hope, and possibly even scan the directions or the future of that Bangsamoro organic law brings. So I contend that the Bangsamoro organic law, or BOL, also known as Republic Act 1154, in its contemplated Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, now BAR, is geared to effect quite distinct political dynamics, with major players performing new roles amid relatively usual motif, or if you may milieu, of the moral question or struggle. I have to sort of highlight the term or phrase quite distinct political dynamics, including what I call the usual motif or milieu of the moral struggle. It means there will be something new that the Bangsamoro organic law will bring, just as there will also be certain old character of the so-called moral question struggle that the players would have to contend. In my view, the clash of new and old is primarily dictated with the checkered past of Mindanao conflict and the new sources of tensions like radicalism or moral and mono-political dynasty these days, while reinforced with the generally negative perception of the army referred to by the previous administration as failed experiment. I think the impression of Professor Marmoleño earlier reflect this rather tension that the new law brings because of the historical antecedents that Mindanao has as far as the arm is concerned. Now it is agitated, these tensions of old and new. Is agitated as the Bangsamoro organic law, with its promise, would proceed further beyond the phase of legislation to implementation and possibly to federalism in its transition to federal. What do I mean in this regard? with the ratifications of the BOL, there are still many cases that the process would tread, and the most critical one is the phase of implementation, or if you mean the transition. That is possibly will begin next year until the next 3 years. And the critical question is whether or not that will connect with the project of federalism, if ever. So those are the 3 assumptions. Now let me move forward. To highlight the source of hope. Amid such contesting impression, hope on the Bangsamoro organic law must be due to people's desire for change and the belief that whatever hurdles that cross the way are capable of being addressed in transcendent. So I would say this is the side of optimism. And these are possibly the positions of those who support, who are optimistic of the Bangsamoro organic law. On the contrary, the fear on the Bangsamoro organic law is historically embedded as it impacts on political, social, economic, cultural factors and forces that affect many interests, namely the national government, the regional areas, including local governments and other areas. So the sources of interest are affected because of this new Bangsamoro organic law, and therefore this will possibly surface in the coming months, as we had even seen the positions of different forces past few months ago, and even in the past few years. In my view, the Bangsamoro organic law would not be prolonged as far as the discussion is concerned in Congress, if it is just an ordinary law, but because it precisely affects national, regional, and local interests, only shows how major is the role of the so-called Bangsamoro organic law. Now, what are the possibilities now that the Bangsamoro organic law has been ratified? It will pass the test of constitutionality. We don't know if there will be sectors who would bring the case to the Supreme Court and ask or question the constitutionality of the law. And there will be late this year or possibly early next year. And we also do not know the pulse of the people so far. And we have to see the performance of the so-called Bangsamoro Transition Authority in these 3 years beginning next year, whether they would achieve the maximum performance or do it just achieve or accomplish just a bare minimum. And we also do not know the extent of challenge that would be posed from the other radical groups or even from other traditional sources of power here in Mindanao. And the other thing is to even conceive the post-BTA scenario 2022, whether or not there will be federalism or no federalism at the time. So these two directions of possibility is something still hazy since federalism is still being discussed this time. And we should even anticipate the post-Duterte administration. That is, if President Duterte finishes his term, what will happen after 2022? And whether the next administration would be as supportive to the so-called Bangsamoro autonomous Mindanao. So these are our at least 5 or 6 assumptions. Some of the critical events in the 70s, in the 90s, that were responsible in the formations of the autonomous region of Muslim Mindanao. And to think that the Mindanao peace process is already, or has already accumulated and become a history by itself. If Mindanao conflict is a history, the peace process has become a history. To the extent that there has been a peace process with the MNLF for 43 years, and a peace process with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front for 21 years. And there were already a number of peace agreements signed. Namely, for the MNLF, you have the Tripoli Agreement in 1976, then the Jeddah Accord, then the final peace agreement, and there is a pending issue on the so-called 42 consensus points. And with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, you have also another Tripoli Agreement, then you have the MOA AD, the Framework Agreement, the Comprehensive Agreement of the Bangsamoro. So, the difference between the agreements between the MNLF and the MILF, at least in the case of the MNLF, there was already implementation. Certain part of the agreement has been implemented in the 1990s. And it has already elicited or impacted in terms of the not only creation of the arm, but even expansion of the arm. Whereas the Moro Islamic Liberation Front had for 17 years been signing peace agreement with the Philippine government, and there had been no instance of implementation. It is only with the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law, and possibly with the after the plebiscite, that we can see implementation of the peace agreement signed between the Philippine government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. Now, a critical part to learn in the what I call the dialectic of peace process, with the rise of new groups, that there has been a pattern of irony or ironies, where every time the government signs a peace agreement with Moro France, there is another front that is usually born. That has been consistent since the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, 2000, and so on and so forth. And I would say, even as we speak today, there is already a looming group asserting itself, even questioning the whole logic of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. So, we have to take note of that every time there is a peace agreement, there is a corresponding group, usually radical in the beginning, that would advance the new cause of the Moro story. But to say the least, at least the effect of the series of agreements that was signed between the Moro Islamic Liberation Front and the Philippine government, with the twist and turn in the process, how, say for instance, the Tripoli Agreement was translated into the MOA AD, and the MOA AD was translated into the Framework Agreement, and eventually into the CAR, until a proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law was supposedly prepared in the last administration, but as we knew, it was not passed. But at least even before the half of the term of President Duterte, then we have seen the ratification of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Okay. And there had been series of Republica. The so-called Bangsamoro Organic Law has now become what we call the RA 1104, repealing the earlier Republic Act of 1954 that was, I think, signed or promulgated in 2001 or 2002, and the 6734 during the period of President Corazon Aquino. And there were already institutions put in place as far as autonomy is concerned. For those in Zamboanga, possibly our older travelers could still remember the lubong tagapagpaganap ng BOL, autonomy of Marcos. Then you have the arm, the phase 1 of the arm, and there was a sort of an interregnum in the middle when there was an implementation of the 1996 peace agreement, which would partly be also placed in the transition next year with the so-called BTA, the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, serving as at least the transition authority until 2022. The history of peace process in Mindanao has already gained that kind of impact in terms of establishing political institutions, but these political institutions have been unstable for a time. There had been many peace agreements signed, including laws, and we will partly examine the prospect of the so-called Bangsamoro Autonomous Region of Muslim Mindanao. Now I guess we have to be quite familiar with the lessons of history because we might as well be moving in a cycle. Hardly gaining momentum in the process, or probably will just be engaged in a kind of a 2 steps backward or a step forward, or possibly 2 steps forward and 1 step backward. But to say the least, this is the dynamic as far as the historical background of the Mindanao conflict in the peace process is concerned. Now let's move further to the political dynamics of the Bangsamoro Organic Law. What is the main feature, or what will become, of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front now that the Bangsamoro Organic Law has been signed? Primarily, there will be change of political space, where a former revolutionary movement would now become a player in the parliamentary politics. This is a big leap. And this is something, in a sense, new, even if we say there has been semblance of that change of political space with the experience of the Moro National Liberation Front. The only difference is that there is a parliamentary project with the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, whereas in the past, the Moro National Liberation Front simply pursued traditional concept of autonomy. Now, in my view, the critical question is to raise the question, what will become of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front? What happened to the void it would leave, not left, it would leave? And who will fit it? What I'm trying to emphasize here is the more than 30 years of struggle of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front has long been identified as that part of struggle where it has gained much following because of its espousal for certain revolutionary project. But now this time, it will become part of the government, or if you may, an extension of the government. The question is, what will become of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, and who will fill the void that it will be left? Now that we know that there are many radical groups competing on the ground, to precisely fill in the void that would be left by the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. So it is like a kind of a trade-off. You give one, but you will miss certain void in the other. Now usually the approach of the peace process, so that the MILF could have a place as a parliamentary player, there has to be demobilization. It means the MILF will have to be precise, to disarm. It has to disarm. In fact, accordingly, their arms will be placed in a supposedly in one stock room with a third party supervision. And this will be done in phases. There was already initial demobilization during the latter part of the Aquino administration. That's one requirement. But the government agreed to rehabilitate the areas of conflict and to normalize the situation in those areas and to effect what is referred to as transitional justice. This is to help, especially those victims of war, those dispossessed and affected, to be able to return into their normal lives. I have something to say on the transitional justice because this even in the university we had this project on how we could help Muslims who were dispossessed from their places. For instance, how do we operationalize transitional justice in the case of residents, Muslim residents in Zamboanga, who were displaced because of the series of war? What is there a project of the local government in order to effect the operations of transitional justice? I just want to highlight this point because recently the LGU, the Office of the Quezon City Government, coordinated with UP and the university invited us how we could operationalize transitional justice. And I'm the one doing this project. The idea is, because of the decades of war, there were many Muslim families who were dispossessed and had to migrate to other places. In Manila, for instance, there were already, as you know, Muslim communities in different cities. And their condition is not as, I would say, the same with the other barangays or other communities. Because in the first place, they were victims of war, searching for livelihood, for space. But in a place like Metro Manila, they could hardly find a place. And to some extent, they add into the congestion problem in the NCR. Now, I tried to propose the idea that through transitional justice, Muslim residents in Manila who would wish to return to their places could possibly be facilitated, say, by the LGU in coordination with the BOL and with the LGUs in Mindanao. But it is not just to throw them to their own places, because obviously many of these places are still prone with tensions. A good project that could be done is if there would be coordination between, for instance, say, NCR in the BOL, where conflict resolution program could be done. Because there are families that are in conflict not only with rebels, but even among themselves. They are confused due to land problem and so on and so forth. What can LGU do? And a kind of a balik provincial program can possibly institute with corresponding livelihood program, training from TESDA and so on and so forth. So that it's not just to return to do nothing. It is actually to begin a new life, to start a new livelihood, and possibly further produce, to be facilitated in terms of marketing in places like NCR and on and on. This way, it benefits not only NCR, but even the places where these victims came from. Because as you know, many lands, many Muslim areas in Sulu, in Basilan, in Maguindanao, and now in Lanao are actually abandoned. These are unproductive lands. And at times these are even taken over by some radical groups or even traditional politicians. So that many people were displaced into the urban areas because their own places were practically abandoned. Now, can we do something about this? I felt that the idea of transitional justice is something that could help, ease the situation that is both beneficial, say, to NCR and to the BOL. And I think that can be replicated in other places, and so on and so forth. Why do we need a coordination with other LGUs? Because I think if it is simply LGU, say in Basilan, in Sulu, and so on, it will not be as effective. There has to be certain coordination with other LGUs, certain push in sense, so that the LGUs in Muslim areas will be, in a sense, enticed or, if you may, pressured to do something. So in my view, the idea of transitional justice could be operationalized not only by the BOL, but even by other LGUs in the country who would like to benefit from the program we just mentioned. Now, how truly parliamentary the bar becomes, and with what I call the parliamentary ends. My point here is, in the last Congress, one of the reasons why the BBL was not passed, because of the fear that the bar or the Bangsamoro Parliament could possibly be used as a gateway for secession. That is the major, I think, questions of Congress at that time, particularly with the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. In other words, there was really suspicion that possibly the MILF would just change strategy from being a revolutionary front to controlling the parliament, and at the end of the day, it would use the parliament for bigger gains. But as what happened, the BBL has been reduced, or as we said, watered down. The issue of constitutionality had been, I think, taken a little bit straight by Congress by removing major provisions, concepts and principles in the BBL. I can narrate many of these concepts and principles. The reasons of Congress was that so that it could guarantee constitutionality, and therefore there will be no reason to bring, for certain sector, to bring the case to the Supreme Court. But on the contrary, in my view, it has certain effect on the notions of what I call the moral right to self-determination. Because the principles that were precisely advanced by the MILF were generated from these notions of the right to self-determination. Now they were practically removed from the BBL. And this is not to raise myself, but when I was invited in the 16th Congress, so that we said that possibility could be averted, that the BBL or the Parliament to become a gateway of secession. We still need to have representation in the national government. And I use what I call the knapsack metaphor. To concretize what I mean, the BBL, or the power given to the BBL, or the BOL, if you have a knapsack, if you put everything there, it becomes too heavy. Therefore, so that it will not break, you need a strong tie, so that it will remain in position, and therefore the possibility of breaking will be minimized. If you will not do that, you give power, but at the same time you limit the representation, you will create an enclave, as if this is just a group belonging to the group of people in that corner. To me, that's not enough. They have to still feel that they are part of the national body politic. And they have, in a sense, representation, so that they will feel that they are still part of the nation. That way, the possibility of the so-called the Bangsamoro or the Parliament becoming a gateway for secession, in my view, could be addressed quite effectively. But as what happened with the BOL, I would say it's like our fear of an enclave. has been a little bit even emphasized. Because what is that? What is mentioned of the idea of representation is, as far as practicable, the national government may appoint. In other words, it's not a requirement for the national government to appoint some people in the national, or some morals in the national government. So in my view, that is the limit of the present Bangsamoro organic group. So, let's go to the next slide. Now, what are the sources of optimism in the benefits? Power. We say that actually what happened is that the power that the arm has now has been expanded. So we could say that the arm is actually a re-expansion of the already expanded arm. So in other words, there are now three phases. The first arm, the expanded arm, and now the arm. But there are additional powers that are actually given, itemized in the BBL, but already reduced in the Bangsamoro organic law. In the BBL, there were around 92 itemized, concurrent, and exclusive powers. But in the BOL, it has become around 52 itemized powers. And that, you can see actually there in the BOL. Then another critical feature is the parliament. You may ask, why is it important for the bar to have a parliament? In my view, the logic of having a parliament is so that the Bangsamoro would have the control of the people they put into power. For instance, in the arm, it's actually Malacanang who decides if who will be the regional governor. And to some extent, the regional governor would always be beholden to Malacanang. For some reasons, it should be good if the relationship is based on principles. But it could be a little bit unscrupulous. It would defeat the whole purpose of autonomy. A classic example of an unscrupulous relationship, I hope I'm not talking too politically, was precisely the experience of the Maguindanao massacre. There was a point when a certain family, I would say, is so close to the president, and they develop a culture of impunity. And that defeats the whole purpose of decentralization of autonomy. Whereas, if you have a parliament, Malacanang has lesser control now. Because it's the members of the parliament who will elect their own chief minister. The members of the parliament will come from different political parties and districts and some indigenous communities. So there are 80 people of the parliament who would elect the chief minister, and this person may not necessarily be beholden to Malacanang. There is a positive effect to some extent as far as in a sense control in direction over the Bangsamoro. But there are also some negative tendencies. Because if the chief minister, or if you may, the whole parliament will become quite ideological, or if you may become too patriotic or nationalistic, there could possibly happen a polarization between the national government and the Bangsamoro. So, there is that sensitivity in that. But to say the least, there is much administrative responsibility given to the bar with the fiscal autonomy. I cannot go on and on in the provision, but at least in the fiscal autonomy, it is actually an expansion of the powers of taxation and wealth sharing that are already there in the 1954, but with additional, say, block grant and the social development. Some estimate that it would come in around 50 to 60 billion per year, plus the social development fund for around 10 years. So you could just imagine how big it would be the wealth or the fund of the Bangsamoro and the control of resources, both inland, so-called inland waters, and now they included the so-called Bangsamoro water that had received the irritants of some sectors, particularly in Western Mindanao and Sulu, Kapihan, and the administration of justice. There is now a dual justice system that would be implemented in the Bangsamoro, the Sharia, and continuously also, of course, the civil, in the political law, the usual justice system. But there's no Bangsamoro police. This is a provision or the BOL removes practically the proposal of Bangsamoro police or Bangsamoro police code. There will always be single Philippine National Police in Bangsamoro. The MILF, to some extent, the MILF will just be integrated, like what happened in the days of the Moro National Liberation Front. And that should happen within 5 years. So it means the integration could possibly start, it will start in the BTA next year and possibly until 2024. Then after that, there will be no integration. The question is, would all the BDM island men or combatants be integrated? And what about the MILF? I mean, the MNLF? But to say the least, unlike the MNLF, there is high degree of preparation and readiness of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. I would narrate a number of observations on these preparations. And there is a high degree of local, national, and international support. The MILF has been building this past 7 years. So therefore, partly it has pressured the government to give in to the demand of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front. And the transition plan has been put in place. Even the economic program has been prepared in the so-called Bangsamoro Development. So in other words, the MILF would not be starting from scratch. It has a blueprint on governance and administration and how to do economic development in the Bangsamoro. This is very different from the experience of the Moro National Liberation. So I think that this point adds into that optimism and hope as far as the Bangsamoro organic law is concerned. Now what about the fear and the pessimism? There is a critical question. If R is a failed political experiment, how about the bar? what's the guarantee that the bar would not follow the series of experience of political experiments in the past? By political experiment, I'm referring to what I call this propensity to create tiers or political and administrative office or institutions and eventually change them. Then put another one, change, create another one, change, and so on and so on. And have a specific research done on this. When we look at this experience, this started even during the American period. In the American period, there were around 9 experiments done. You can remember names like Moro Province, Bureau of Non-Christian Tribes, Department of Mindanao History, Commission of National Integration. There were 9 experiments during the American period. Now, since the time of President Bangsamoro and until the expanded arm, there were already around 9 plus 16 experiments. So, the arm is just another instance. Just to show that if the arm is an experiment, is the bar also another experiment? I would say it's still another experiment. Although we could not judge now whether it would fail or succeed. Perhaps the grandest, if you made the grand, would be federalism. You know, its federalism is more grand than the BOL. Then, internal dynamics, you know, the possible breakout and how the MLLF would run the party. It probably engage would be in terms of representations in the media. Will there be more Maguindanao or MLLF in the transition, or will there be more Maranao and so on? But we can probably see in the compositions of the BTA when it will be formed. Then the web of how the bar would possibly be entangled in what I call web of national local politics. This is something that is the experience of the art, and we don't know the extent to which this will be replicated in the bar. And the fear of so-called creeping expansion of authority. And the controversy of the opt-in on opt-out provisions, or the opt-in provisions, like the 9 or the 6 municipalities in the now and the 39 barangays in North Tabato. And after the MLLF, what would be the form, what I call Moro to self-determination? So these are lingering questions that we could not fully answer, but these have to be taken into our sorts of way in understanding the possibility of the Bangsamoro. We don't know if there will be groups who would bring question constitutionality in the Supreme Court, the result of the plebiscite, which will be conducted early, possibly next year. And what I call the performance, you know, this is very important, of these for 3 years. Then the challenge from the radicals, as I said, and to traditional politicians. And the scenario, do we have federalism or no federalism? If it will be no federalism, then the bar will continue, 2022 onward. If there will be federalism, then possibly there will be a recast of the whole Bangsamoro organic law. Then what will happen to the post-Duterte administration? given the negative Philippine political culture. You know, if you do not belong to my political party, even how good was your policy, I will not support it. I will create my own policy and start over. This is what I call the negative political culture and the policy of discontinuity. You know, since, for instance, the Ramos period to era and so on and so forth, there has been a kind of zigzag in this policy. That's why it takes this long before we reach this signing of the bill. The last part is what I call the reflections. I talked demographic with you earlier, and for us to again re-examine the moral struggle in 50 years. And at the same time also the radicals already stuck in for 50 years. And the struggle has become so protracted and shifting, you know, from autonomy to declarations of independence, you know, rebellion and so on and so forth. So look at what happened. There has been a kind of what I call climate of protectiveness. And the political institutions have never been stable. It is always subjected to political pressures. But the difference with this project is that in the 5 administration after Marcos, I'm sorry, in the 5 administration after Marcos, this is the last part. All of the administration was advancing because of autonomy. But in the Duterte administration, there are 2 projects, the BOL and federalism. And the BOL has been passed even before the midterm. Then we don't know the fate of federalism in the next 3 years of the Digong administration. And these strands are simply, you know, struggled in this quest for secession of federalism. Now, what is the stand after federalism? You know, now that after the MILM is mainstream, what will be left would be the radical groups. And to me, that is something a concern. And what will be the trajectory of the future, given that we have this lingering problem of radicalism in our youth? And in my view, the Bangsamoro question should not only be a concern of the Muslims in this country. It should be the concern of everyone, of every Filipino, and that there has to be a birth of new way of thinking, a new way of understanding things, what I call a birth of new consciousness. Because the problem in Mindanao is actually the problem of the whole thing. And therefore, its resolution should come from each and every one of us, whether Muslims or Christians. So that's all. Thank you very much.
Ma'am Remy, at the beginning, said that all of us are fellow travelers. We are travelers because we have been on a very long journey. A journey in search for peace. For me, this journey started when I was barely 7 years old, when the first casualties of this war began in about the year 1968. And my father told me, this kind of war will take a long time. Probably it will have no end. Your children and the children of your children will still see this war. I did not know that at that time, immediately after the first casualties, my school will be filled up with people evacuating from their homes in Lantawan, in Malusu, in Sumisig, down to Isabela, so that we children We held our classes not in the classroom, but under the trees, because the classrooms were occupied by the evacuees. Jessica Soho thinks that she invented the word backwit when she was reporting about the Marawi siege. I was telling myself that is not true, because the word backwit was invented way back then when this trouble started. They were the people who were what we call now internally displaced, the backwit. This word became so popular that there was even a bread especially cooked by the Claricians for the evacuees. It was called pan evacuees or backwit pan. Pan backwit. Yes, you remember in Isabela, no? We had pan backwit. So I had lived through elementary and high school with this trouble. I went to college in a situation where there is always a tenseness in the environment. I have raised children in this place where there has always been tension, where you do not know where the next bomb will explode, where every morning you will wake up, prepare your children for school. You have to listen first if there are gunfires around in order to make sure that they will be safe on the street. And so it is with joy that we come to know and now realize that we have again, as Professor Wadi have said in this long journey, another milestone in which we have a new law that gives us hope for the future. I thank Father Diambra for inviting me to talk to you about the legal aspects of the Bangsamoro organic law related to the Philippine Constitution. I do not say that I am an expert on this, but I have read the law, and I find that pretty much it conforms with our Constitution. The constitutionality of the peace process and the instruments that come from it has always been an issue. We know that under the MOA Act, a case was brought to the Supreme Court, and then the Supreme Court declared certain acts to be contrary to the Constitution and provided the guidelines for those who will be negotiating for peace. And reading this law, we find that, as I have said, this will most probably pass constitutional scrutiny if this will be brought to the Supreme Court. For one, there are things which are reserved and properly given to the national government. National defense, foreign affairs, the fiscal matters, customs, etc. While many powers are given to the autonomous region, much of those which concerns national life are retained by the government, by the national government. This is part of the issues that was brought during the MOA Act. So this law, I think, will pass constitutional scrutiny, and it has provided, as Professor Wadi pointed out, many benefits for our region. There are many things that can be benefited from here. For one, the resources now will be shared on 75-25 basis, including the taxes. Under this law, the farm will have a black grant, about 5% of the national taxes collected, which in no case should be less than 50 billion pesos. Not to be incorporated in the General Appropriations Act, but to be automatically given to them. Right now, the budget of the arm passes the General Appropriations Law, but this one will be automatically given to them, presumably providing more autonomy to this part of our region. So all in all, I think the law is good. We should celebrate this important milestone in our journey for peace. But our concern would always be how this law will be implemented. Professor Wadi gave us the metaphor of the knapsack, but I would like to speak about the metaphor of a beautiful bus. This law is a beautiful car. It is a beautiful bus. But as we move on along this journey, much will depend on who will be driving the vehicle. and the conductors who will assist the driver. Will the driver and the conductors be ever mindful about the welfare of the passengers? Will they drive us all together safely to our destination? Will they be thinking about the future of the bus and the place where its passenger will go? Or will they think about themselves and fall into the pitfalls of the roadblocks in this journey? The journey will be long and arduous, and we hope that the vehicle will bring us to our destination, together with those who will man it. Along the way, we must be mindful, as Professor Wally has pointed out, of the roadblocks. There will be roadblocks along the way. There will be the issue of graft and corruption. Will this government be free of graft and corruption? Will the elections be free and honest? Will we not fall into our dynastic tendencies? Will we be able to solve the claims of all other groups who think that they have been excluded? There will be the roadblocks of terrorism, of extremism, of continuous poverty, or perhaps deprivation of the right of the people, of their rights, as well as their education. These are all the things that we have to be concerned as we all embark on this journey in this beautiful bus. But we should not despair. This law represents a bright hope for us and our future. Much has been said about what has happened in Mindanao. And I would like to share with you the words of a beautiful song sung by the Celtic Thunder. It is called The Island. When I listen to this song, I think about Mindanao, the island of Mindanao. If I may paraphrase, the song says, they say that the skies of Zamboanga and Marawi are burning. Their mighty trees are bleeding in the heat. They're showing pictures on the television of women and children dying in the street. And we're still at it in our own place, still trying to reach the future through the past, still trying to curb tomorrow from a tombstone. But this is not our story. Our story is meant to be one of peace. Our story is meant to be not a sad song, because we have heard too much of that before. Our story is about a peaceful island where the young people could hold hands and walk together and trace their footprints in the sun. Our story is meant to be of a promised land in which all of us, when the sun goes down, will not be afraid about the bombs that will explode, but to love each other to the sound of the ocean. That is the future that we are hoping for all of us. That is the thing that we are facing. If they succeed, we will be prosperous. But if the conditions of unpeace will continue there, then we will be adversely affected, because their people will be coming over here. So all of us have a stake in this, whether we are in the region or not. And what can we do, Father, for this? As we dream the future of described by Professor Wadi, what can all of us do? We can make ourselves aware about this law, and more importantly, all of us could pray together to our own God, that He will give us the peace that we have been searching for so long. Let us continue. In that way, we can help by praying to Allah, to our God, that He will give us the peace, so that our children will be safe on the streets, so that we will know that all of us can sleep soundly, and instead of being afraid of the sounds of the bomb, we can enjoy the sound of the ocean in this Mindanao, a land which has been promised to all of us. Thank you very much.
Sharia. Sharia is an Arabic term. It means a way or a path or a way of life of those who belong to the Islamic faith or go to Muslims. But Sharia is more than just a way of life or a path. It is a road to a watering tree. What is this road to a watering tree? In a person, in a human being, there is that very important part in our system where there is a tree but we cannot see, but we can feel the tree. And the tree therein, beneath it is a continuous flow of water. The water that is so fine gold. It is the water inside the heart that purifies the gentleness of the heart. And this is the foundation of love, the heart. In the language of the Quran, it is stated there, in the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The Quran is one of the sources of Sharia, which produce good people if they follow the injunction of the Quran. The second source of the Sharia is the saying and the doings of the great prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him. After the great prophet of Islam, there were the four caliph who followed him, and in his absence, because he was already dead, they made interpretation of the Quran and the Sunnah of the great prophet of Islam that we call today as the Ijtihad or the Mujtahid. And the last one is the Al-Qiyas, which is based on analogy. The Sharia is a way of life. It is not a legal system per se, because it is founded on religious precepts. It is a moral obligation of every Muslim to follow the Sharia. Wherever they go, the Sharia goes with them. Even if they go to the comfort room, to bedroom, to come near the wife, everywhere they go, they are bound by the Sharia because it is part of their way of life. How Sharia become part of the legal system? In the early days after the death of the great prophet of Islam, Muhammad, peace be upon him, and after the death of the Mujtahid of the Caliph, there got to be an interpretation of what are the solutions to the problem, new solutions to new problems. So we have to revisit the doings of the great prophet of Islam and make interpretation. That is the Sharia. Now in the Philippines, we are including Sharia as a system as part of governance. That now becomes the legal system. The Philippines as part has passed several civilizations. Marami pong dumaan dito mga colonizer. From Spanish, Americans, Japanese, umalik ang Amerikano. Our system of law has been always part of the European style model of law. Roman law, yung pinag-aaralan namin ni Atty. Samson, the basic. Then we have the revised penal code, basically Spaniards in origin. But in the beginning, before they came, there were already precepts moral precepts, about the teachings of Islam, but that is not a legal system. That is part of the faith. So those who rebel the government, they were advocating for the institutionalization of the Sharia as a system and part of governance. President Marcos, through his power to make law, signed Presidential Decree 1083, otherwise known as the Muslim Personal Law of the Philippines. That now becomes part of the law of the land. Under this new dispensation, we have the BOL, or the Bangsamoro Organic Law. Why is this given to the people who struggle for self-determination short of Bangsamoro independence? Because as always in a colonized country, the colonizer will impose their will. But if there are people who object to their will, it is always the pattern of the colonizer to appease those who are against them. So the Sharia is becoming already an identity. That you belong to this particular group, you are Muslim, this is for you. This is supposed to be a token. Appeasement, so that the rebels will stop rebelling, so that they can have a dialogue between people who are colonizing and the people who are colonized. So for today, we are discussing Sharia, that the road to a watering tree, which is part of the faith of the Muslims, to be integrated in the legal system, already integrated under Presidential Decree 1083. Now it is being strengthened under the BOL. Because apart from the establishment of the Sharia Circuit Court, the appointment of the Sharia judges, the Sharia District Court, in the Bangsamoro region, there will still be a considerable number of Sharia courts that will be established by Congress of the Philippines outside the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, depending upon the numbers of the Muslims that are residing therein. And there will be additional creation of the Sharia courts in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, so to speak. And the creation of the Bangsamoro, of the Sharia High Court, which the Sharia District Court's decisions can be appealed to the Sharia High Court, which has equivalence to the Sharia Court, to the Court of Appeals of the regular court, and whose actions can be elevated to the Supreme Court of the Republic of the Philippines. The other important elements in the passage in the Bangsamoro Organic Law is the presence of the wali, just like the name of Professor Wali, which function is only ceremonial. Ceremonial in the sense that he will only administer the oath of those who will be elected members of the parliament, and he will dissolve parliament upon the recommendation of the chief minister. If he will not dissolve the parliament, he will be removed by the parliament, until which there will be a new election for a new parliament. And the other important thing is the institutionalization of the banking system, Islamic banking system, within the autonomous region, and of course the establishment of the halal foods. Of course, this is now already institutionalized, but I think it will be more strengthened in that area. So what we are saying here, let us try to have a dialogue. For those people who cannot understand Sharia, this is a way of life of the Muslim. You need not fear about it. Because even in the legal system, as it will be instituted, the punishment for crimes that are committed that will be prosecuted under the system is only minor offense. Wala pong putol dito. Kasi yung pong kinakatakutan natin, kala natin Sharia na yung babae who commits adultery, just like in Saudi Arabia, na there will be stoning to death. That is already a legal system there. But because the Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines is still very high, no torture, cruel and unusual punishment shall be inflicted, so there can be not such punishment as hudud, as punishment as like that here in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region. So this is how Sharia will operate. First, as I said, it is Islamic precepts. It is about faith. You need not worry about it. But once it is legislated, it becomes an Islamic law. Or better still, since the content of the Bangsamoro Organic Law is only Islamic family law. About marriage only, about divorce, about betrothal, about distribution of wealth among the inheritance. Except that it added more than that under Presidential Decree 83 that the Parliament shall enact law pertaining to Sharia on law on commerce and of course jurisdiction on property. So other than that, if ever there are criminal punishment for violation of the provision of PD 1083, yung babae, yung lalaki mag-asawa hindi nagpaalam sa asawa, yun po lang criminal liability punishable only by 30 days imprisonment. At wala naman na procedure for that. Even hindi nagpaalam. The other thing is there is an office that was created, the Office of the Jurisconsul, of course created already under PD 1083, Office of the Sharia Prosecution Service, equivalent to our prosecutor here, and Office of the PAO, Public Attorney's Office. So these are the new things that are integrated in the Bangsamoro Organic Law. So kung hindi pa na-establish ito, yung Sharia Prosecution Service, if there are crimes committed within the Sharia Bangsamoro Administrative Region between Muslims, then he will be prosecuted according to that, whatever the law, the Parliament will enact, and the existing prosecution service of the Department of Justice will take the case kung hindi pa na-organize yung kung Sharia Prosecution Service. So these are the basic that are included in the administration of justice as far as the system of Sharia is concerned. Now we go to the most important thing. Even if the Sharia administration of justice is in place, where only Muslims can take their case to the Sharia court, and the non-Muslims, if they so volunteer or they admit to be submitted to the jurisdiction of the Sharia court, because in Islam there is no compulsion, it has to be free will, then that can be the case. The other thing, as found in the Article 10 of that Bangsamoro Organic Law, the indigenous mode of settling disputes of people who belongs to the indigenous people, like the women and men here who belongs to the indigenous peoples, there shall be indigenous system that shall be in place also for them, and an office of the indigenous culture and diversity will also be in place. This is part of that article on the establishment of the Sharia. So more than that explanation that we have, what we want is what will be the future of Mindanao and how paano po natin makamtan ang tunay na kapayapaan. Many has been said, the law is there, but how can this law be made a legal instrument to attain peace? Can we rely on the law? The law is only a legal instrument. But the better thing to do is we follow the Quranic injunction. Whether Muslims or Christians, I believe you will believe in me. When God said in the Quran, "Yahdina as-siratal mustaqim," guide us to the straight path. And the Quranic injunction, "Ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhauna 'anil munkar," perform good deeds and get away with bad deeds. Ganun lang po kasimple yun. That is the way of life. Whether Muslims or Christian, that should be our way of life. So we bring that past now to the present. What was the past? There was a misunderstanding because akala natin ang gera tungkol sa reliyon, hindi tungkol sa poverty. So now we know that the war was not about religion. The war is about kahirapan. Battle against poverty. There was a deprivation of the helpless and the powerless. Nandiyan sila sa never-ending cycle of poverty and helplessness. And this is what we want, that this legal instrument shall become the instrument that will remove these people, the marginalized, the vulnerable, the weak, and the downtrodden, para sila makantang nila ang tunay na kapayapaan, ang tunay na happiness. So now, as according to the instruction of the President, from among you who are soon to benefit this Bangsamoro organic law, continue to build trust among yourselves. And building trust requires dialogue, hindi dialogue. Dialogue. We appreciate the Silsilah, for they are in the battle cry of the culture of dialogue. So we know now the new present reality. The new present reality is we have this legal instrument. We will use this for all forms of dialogue so that people who have still that prejudices, biases in their heart, who would not live without envy, without bias, will the biases and the prejudices will get out of their heart so that we can travel on the correct journey. Sabi ni Ma'am Marmoleño, the journey towards the attainment of the vision of peace. We use this culture of dialogue and we will attain the real vision of peace, anchored on love, anchored on hope, anchored on unity, solidarity, and sincerity. For those who will sit in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region, sabi ng aking kaibigan ko, Professor Wally, napokor of the knapsack. Sabi ng kaibigan ko, Professor Dean Sanson, napokor of the bus. Ang sa akin naman, napokor of the fish. Yung fish is living in the deep blue sea. Yan to siya bibiyan sindakat. For those who will sit and are still sitting now, dedicated to them. The fish is along the cut, even if it's inside the sea. When you get and harvesting from the sea, it does not feel salty. Hindi siya nasinan. Subukan niyo tulak. Prituhon isda ang panyori asinan. Why saan nanamdin? May ta. Why? Because he was not polluted inside the sea. So ito uupo dito, very tempting ang public service. Sana they will be like a fish. They will not be polluted. They will sans all material and personal interest. They will not be a monopolizer of power. They will not abuse their discretion. And they will be accountability so that there will be no capital C. corruption. That is always our what we call advocacy. So BOL, federalism, the same thing yan. We need a man with the heart who can deliver the services for the good of the people, that will deliver them from the bondage of poverty, helplessness, and powerlessness. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.